You're watching In Session in Oregon versus Jeff and Marcy Beagley. I'm Vinny Politan. Today we'll get a chance to watch both defendants testify, and we'll be watching what they say and how they say it. With me now to give us some clues about what to look for is body language analyst TJ Walker. He's the author of the new book, How to Give a Pretty Good Presentation. TJ joins us from New York. Good morning, TJ.
Good morning.
All right, let's start. First of all, we've got the defendants. So we know coming into this case, there's a lot on the line. First of all, they're dealing with the death of their child, and they are now being accused of being criminally responsible for it. So we know they're in a pressure-filled situation. But yesterday was direct examination for Jeff Beagley. And direct examination, a lot different than cross-examination. Direct is with your attorney that you know very well. You know what questions are coming up. You're prepared for them. But despite all that, we picked up some things yesterday that Jeff Beagley was doing that I want you to take a look at and see if there's any significance to it. First, he was very shruggy with his shoulders as we take a look at Jeff Beagley inside that courtroom. What should we read into that? And again, this is the direct examination, so a lot of them are softball questions, TJ.
Well, it makes him look blasé. It makes him seem disengaged. That's not what you want to convey. If you're in his shoes, in that seat, you want to seem filled with sadness. You want to be compassionate. You want to really connect as a human being. You don't want to sit there as if you're kind of waiting at the Department of Motor Vehicles for your number to come up. It did not come across as very compassionate.
Okay, let's stay. Now, in another part, we noticed that there were times where he would answer a question and then sort of purse his lips a little bit afterwards. Again, I could see feeling uncomfortable inside a courtroom. But how about those facial gestures like that, a pursing of the lips?
The problem is that can make anyone look sour, look nervous, look uncomfortable. And this is the sort of body language that hits people in their gut. No one says, hey, I'm going to convict this person because they pursed their lips. But unfortunately, in the gut level, at the subconscious level, it can make you less comfortable with that person.
So in other words, the jury's going to be picking up on these things, these little signs that we're analyzing in detail. The jury's not going to...
People have no choice but to pick up on things. We as human beings are constantly looking and analyzing everything around us. We're looking for clues to determine whether we like someone or not like, whether we believe somebody or not believe somebody. So when you do this, I mean, that literally makes me look sour. So a part of it
I
is,
wasn't liking you there for a second,
testifying.
TJ. I was not liking you there for a second.
Okay.
All right, now, head shaking. This is something else that this defendant did a lot yesterday during his direct examination. A little bit of back and forth with the head. What about head shaking? Whether you're nodding up and down or shaking it side to side, is there a significant difference between those two?
Well, certainly if you are being accused of something and you believe you're innocent, it can be effective to not only say no, but to strenuously show, I do not agree with that, because the jury can see it's a stronger impact on the jury. But if you're just sort of, and it's not consistent with your message, then you're sending mixed messages, and again, that can confuse a jury. You don't want to confuse the audience you care about in this situation, the jury.
All right, I want to take a listen now to a little bit of his testimony. And this was a moment where we saw him laugh and smile. Some viewers thought perhaps he was smirking. Take a listen and take a look.
What can you remember about what he was eating?
I mean, when he was eating or what he was eating?
Well, both. What was he eating and how often?
Yeah, it's a lot of his mom's department on what he was eating. I know he was eating like a little oatmeal, eggs, maybe fish.
All right, TJ, what do you think's going on there? Because again, his son died. He was sick at one point in March, and then got sick again later, and eventually died. And part of the issue they were dealing with was trying to get him to eat some food. They kept a food journal. But when asked about that, he talks about that's his mother's job and sort of, is that a nervous laughter that came out, you think?
It very well may be a nervous laughter. Unfortunately, the jury doesn't know that. So when they see this person whose son has died, because people say of his negligence, to see him laughing, it's just not a good message. And the whole question is about food, eating, central to health. And here's a guy laughing, and again, it's not something he can control right away. Let's face it, nobody's perfect. I'm a few pounds overweight, but when he's sitting there, obviously very overweight, sort of laughing about things involving nutrition for a son that's dead, I think it's a strange cocktail that has a very negative effect on the jury.
All right, now that was all direct examination. Today is cross-examination, where you're getting questions, you don't know exactly what they're going to ask, and it can get very, very combative at times. This is the man who believes you have committed a crime, believes that you are responsible for your own son's death, a man who's going to ask a judge, if he gets a guilty verdict, to put you in prison. Talk to me a little bit about what things we should look for from this defendant as he's up on that stand being cross-examined by the prosecutor.
Well, he wants to convey that he's sincere. He wants to convey that he's innocent. He wants to convey that, hey, I'm a normal human being just like you, jurors, and I have religious beliefs as you do, but I'm a normal person who loved my child and cared for my child in my own best way. He does not want to come across as strange, as alien, as weird, as outside of the mainstream, someone who may be a menace to society. So he's got to think about this in every single answer and every
Are there
single
things that he can
gesture.
do in terms of body language and the way he answers these questions and the way he deals with these tough questions to convey that to the jury?
Well, when people get tough questions, it's human nature to often do something like this. To look surprised, scared, nervous, and it's best to simply look calm and to continue to convey sadness because of the facts at hand and compassion, and that you're not surprised, and you certainly don't want to convey guilt. You don't want to look like, oh gosh, I wish you hadn't asked that question. He needs to look as though he is perfectly happy to answer every single question because he has nothing to hide.
All right, body language expert TJ Walker is with us. He's going to be watching the testimony with us today, folks. Thanks so much, TJ. We're ready for day 11 of Oregon versus Beagley, and what a big day it is. Prosecutors take aim at the defendant, Jeffrey Beagley, and he gets a little choked up talking about one of his son's homework assignments. Plus, Marcy Beagley shares her side of the story and discusses faith and medicine.